The cafe on station Kepler 442 hummed with the usual morning chaos. A symphony of a dozen languages, the hiss of steam machines, and the clink of ceramic against metal tables. Danny stood at the counter, her iridescent scales catching the artificial sunlight that streamed through the viewport, shifting from deep emerald to sapphire blue as anxiety rippled across her skin. She was Dracori, one of the few of her kind this far from the home nebula. At 7 feet tall, with elegant horns curving back from her skull and a tail that instinctively wrapped around her legs when she was nervous, Danny knew she cut an imposing figure. But right now, she felt anything but imposing. The barista, a young centaurian with 4 arms and an impatient expression, was speaking rapidly. Danny could see her mouth moving, see the frustration building in her gestures, but the words were lost. They had always been lost. Danny's hands moved in careful, practiced signs, the standard galactic sign language most stations claimed to accommodate. "Hot chocolate, please, with extra cream." The barista's antennae drooped in confusion. She said something else, speaking slower this time, as if volume and pace could bridge the gap that biology had created. The Dracori had evolved in the silent depths of gas giant atmospheres, communicating through bioluminescent patterns and electromagnetic pulses. Sound had never been part of their world, and while Danny had learned to read lips in a dozen languages and become fluent in GSL, moments like these reminded her how alone she could feel in a universe designed for hearing. Behind her, the line was growing. Danny could feel the weight of impatient stares, the shift of feet, the universal irritation of people whose morning was being delayed. Her scales flickered darker, an unconscious display of distress that any Dracori would have understood immediately. But here, among the dozens of species that called Kepler 442 home, it went unnoticed. "Hey there." A hand, human, Danny noted from the 5 fingers, appeared in her peripheral vision, moving slowly and deliberately where she could see it. Danny turned to find a man standing beside her, careful not to startle her. He was human, perhaps in his early 30s, with tired eyes that somehow still crinkled with warmth. A small girl, no more than 5 or 6, peeked from behind his leg, her dark curls bouncing as she observed Danny with open curiosity. The man's hands began to move. "Can I help?" He signed, his movements clear and unhurried. "I speak some GSL." Danny felt something loosen in her chest. "The barista doesn't understand," she signed back, relief making her movements more fluid. "I just want hot chocolate." The man, Jasper, she would learn later, nodded and turned to the barista. "She'd like a hot chocolate, please. Extra cream if you have it." The Centaurian's expression cleared immediately, her antennae perking up. "Oh, of course. Why didn't she just say so?" Jasper's jaw tightened slightly, but he kept his voice pleasant. "She did, just not in a way you understood." He paused, then added, "You might want to update your universal translator to include visual languages. You're missing about 15% of your potential customers." As the barista busied herself with the order, Jasper turned back to Danny. "I'm Jasper," he signed, then gestured to the little girl. "This is my daughter, Maya." "Danny," she signed back, then knelt down slightly to be closer to Maya's height. The little girl wasn't intimidated by her size or scales. Instead, she reached out to touch Danny's arm with gentle curiosity. "Pretty," Maya said, and though Danny couldn't hear the word, she could read it on the child's lips. Jasper signed as he spoke, making sure Danny could follow. "Maya's been learning GSL at school. She's better at it than I am. My wife—" He paused, a shadow crossing his face. "Her mother was deaf. I promised I'd make sure Maya grew up knowing sign language." "Was?" Danny signed gently. "She passed away 2 years ago. Engineering accident on a mining vessel." His hands trembled slightly with the words, but he steadied them. Maya keeps me going. Danny's scales shimmered with soft gold tones, the Dracori expression of compassion. I'm sorry. She would be proud of you both. The barista called out, and Jasper collected Danny's hot chocolate, bringing it to her. Steam rose from the cup, and Danny could see the generous swirl of cream on top. She reached for her credit chip, but Jasper waved her off. My treat, he signed. Consider it a welcome to the neighborhood. We live in Section 7C, if you're nearby. Section 8A, Danny signed back. Just moved here last week. New job at the Terraforming Institute. Hey, that's right next door, Jasper said, signing along. Maya and I eat here most mornings before I drop her at school. Maybe we'll see you around. For the first time that morning, for the first time in many mornings, if she was honest, Danny smiled. Her scales rippled with warm amber and rose gold, colors that transcended language. I'd like that. Maya tugged on her father's sleeve, her small hands moving in careful, deliberate signs. Can Danny come to breakfast with us? Jasper raised an eyebrow at Danny. You don't have to. But if you're free... Danny looked at the table by the window where Jasper and Maya usually sat, then at the cup of hot chocolate in her hands. Perfect, exactly as she'd wanted it, obtained through kindness rather than struggle. She thought about eating alone in her quarters again, about the silence that was both her nature and her isolation. I'm free, she signed. As they settled at the table, Maya chattering away in a combination of speech and signs while Jasper translated with patient fluency, Danny realized something profound. The universe was vast and often lonely, filled with beings who might never truly understand each other. But humanity, these strange, short-lived, impossibly persistent humans, had a gift for building bridges where none should exist. They learned, they adapted, they cared. And sometimes, on an ordinary morning on a space station halfway across the galaxy, that made all the difference. Danny sipped her hot chocolate and watched the stars beyond the viewport, her scales glowing with the quiet, steady light of contentment. She wasn't alone anymore.